All right, so get this, everyone. We're diving deep into pro hockey today.
That was exciting.
It is. We're going to be focusing on Emil Heineman's journey to becoming a regular player for the Montreal Canadiens.
Heineman, yeah. I've seen him play a few times. He's a really interesting player.
I've got some awesome excerpts here from a recent interview he did, so we're going to break it all down. Everything from his draft day, the trades, his time in the minors, and facing off against some of the biggest names in the game.
His story is pretty unique. He didn't, immediately jump into the NHL, you know?
Exactly. Drafted by Florida in 2020, then traded to Calgary, and then finally landing in Montreal.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a lot of moving around for a young player, having to adapt to new systems and expectations so early on. What do you think those moves did to his development?
I mean, it's almost like being thrown into the fire, wouldn't you say? He constantly had to prove himself over and over again.
For sure. And we can't forget about his time with the Laval Rocket in the AHL last season. He even called this year his redemption season, which is interesting.
Redemption season, huh? Well, the AHL's a tough league, you know? It's where players really refine their game and learn to handle the grind of a pro season. I'd say for Heineman, who's known for his speed and just aggressive forechecking, you know, the AHL was probably the best place for him to really hone those skills against some tough competition.
For sure, yeah. It's almost like a blacksmith forging a blade.
I like that.
Yeah, the heat and the pressure make it stronger, right? So he goes through that, he battles through the AHL, and then boom, he earns a spot on the Canadiens' opening night roster. In the interview, he talks about the butterflies he had just waiting to find out, barely paying attention during that video call where they announced it. I can only imagine the emotions running high at that point.
Oh, absolutely. Must have been incredible.
Oh, and get this, his first game, a home opener against the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, wow. Talk about being thrown into the deep end.
No kidding. He describes it as high intensity and physical, which, come on.
Yeah.
It's a Montreal-Toronto game.
Of course.
They won 1-0.
Wow, what a game.
I know. He specifically mentions goalie Sam Montembeault having a monster game, saying he was standing on his head.
Yeah, I bet. It seems like even in those early days, the team was playing really tight defensively.
Yeah. And when you have a goalie like that making those big saves, it's got to boost the confidence of the entire team, especially for a young player like Heineman. Gives them the freedom to be more aggressive offensively, knowing that they've got that solid last line of defense.
Sure.
And speaking of aggressive, Heineman talks about going up against guys like William Nylander.
Oh, yeah, Nylander's fantastic.
Right. These are guys he grew up watching. What do you think that pinch me moment is like for a young player, eh? To actually be on the ice with your idols.
It's like stepping into a video game you've played 1,000 times, and suddenly you're controlling the character. I mean, you've idolized these guys, studied their moves, and now you're on the ice with them.
It's surreal.
Totally.
He even says, those are the games you want to be a part of.
And let's be real, the Montreal-Toronto rivalry, there's nothing like it. It's got the history, the passion, the electricity in the arena.
It's insane. He was totally blown away by the atmosphere, saying you can just feel it, you know? And he's already played in a few of those games.
Wow, what an experience. And that kind of environment can really, I don't know, make or break a player.
Yeah, for sure.
Some guys thrive under pressure, while others just crumble. It'll be interesting to see how Heineman continues to adapt to it.
You know, he's been really honest about his performance this season. He talks about his early success, hitting a bit of a slump, and then the work it took to get back on track. What stands out to you about his self-awareness?
Well, it's refreshing. You don't see that too often. A lot of athletes avoid talking about their struggles,
Yeah.
But he owns it, which makes him seem incredibly genuine. Plus, it shows a maturity beyond his years. He understands that hockey, like life, is full of those ups and downs.
Yeah, I agree. That honesty is engaging. He also mentions how the team as a whole has faced some challenges, but that he's optimistic about turning things around. There's a real sense of determination there.
That's a key trait for any athlete, especially in a demanding market like Montreal, right?
Right.
You need that unwavering belief in yourself and your team because the fans are passionate and they can be quick to criticize if things aren't going well.
Okay, so we've talked about his journey, his first season, and playing in Montreal, but we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to unpack.
So much more.
Let's take a deeper look at what it really takes to make it in this high-pressure environment.
All right, let's do it.
We'll be back in a flash to dive even deeper into Emil Heineman's NHL journey. Don't go anywhere.
You know, one thing that really stood out to me in the interview
Yeah.
was how Heineman talks about his style of play. He's always been a physical player, not afraid to, battle in the corners, go to the net.
You can definitely see that in his game. He's got that relentless energy, always pushing the play forward. But how do you think that translates to the NHL, where, I mean, everyone is just bigger and faster and stronger?
That's a great question. And I think for him, it really speaks to his ability to adapt. He can't just rely on like brute force at this level. He needs to be smarter, more strategic
Ah, right.
about how he uses that physicality.
He mentions working on his shot a lot. He wants to become more of a scoring threat, you know?
That's a smart move.
Yeah.
In today's NHL, you got to be multidimensional,
Yeah.
right? You can't just be a grinder or a scorer. You got to be a bit of both. And it seems like Heineman recognizes that,
Yeah.
which is a good sign for his future.
He also talks about the mental side of the game, like how important it is to stay focused and confident, even when things aren't going your way.
Oh, yeah, the mental game is huge, especially for a young player in a market like Montreal. The fans are intense, and the media can be pretty relentless. Being able to just tune out the noise and focus on your game, that takes time to develop, for sure.
He mentions having a really good support system, both within the team and back home in Sweden. Do you think that kind of support is crucial for navigating the challenges of pro hockey?
Absolutely. Hockey's a team sport, right?
Yeah.
On and off the ice, having those teammates you can trust, coaches who believe in you, a strong family back home, those things can make all the difference.
Yeah, it's like having that solid foundation that you can fall back on no matter what's happening out there on the ice.
Exactly. And I think that's got to be even more important for a young player who's far from home and adjusting to, well, a new culture, a new way of life. That sense of belonging, that support system, it really helps players thrive.
Now, let's talk about Montreal as a hockey city. Heineman describes it as hockey mad, which is,
Yeah.
I mean, pretty accurate. What do you think it's like for a young player to come into that kind of environment?
Intense. Montreal lives and breathes hockey, right? The fans are so knowledgeable and passionate. They have these high expectations.
Right.
It's exciting, but it can be overwhelming, especially for a young player who's still finding his way.
He mentions getting recognized at a cafe and getting a free coffee.
See, that's what I'm talking about. In Montreal, those players are like celebrities. They're part of the fabric of the city.
Right, right.
You walk down the street, people recognize you. They want to chat about the game. They'll share their opinions, whether you want them or not.
He kind of laughs it off in the interview, says he's not a big celebrity yet.
Yeah.
But you can tell it's a bit surreal for him.
Oh, for sure. It's not always easy, There's that pressure to perform, to live up to the expectations of, well, everybody. But I think that there's also that sense of pride, that feeling of being part of something bigger than yourself.
It seems like he's handling it pretty well so far.
I
He
know.
talks about how much he enjoys the city,
The energy.
the passion.
That's what it comes down to. If you love the game, if you embrace the challenge, then you can thrive in a place like Montreal. It's not for everyone, but for the right player, it can be the most rewarding experience.
And Heineman's showing signs that he could be that kind of player. I mean, he's got the talent, he's got that work ethic, he's got the mental toughness to make it in this kind of environment.
Don't forget about his adaptability.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, that's a key trait, especially for a player like Heineman, who's had to navigate so many different teams and leagues.
So we've talked a lot about the individual aspects of his story, but let's zoom out a bit here. What's the bigger picture? What can we learn from Emil Heineman's journey?
I think it's a story about, well, perseverance, never giving up on your dreams, embracing challenges, learning from your setbacks, and constantly striving to improve.
And it's about finding your place,
Yeah.
right? Navigating the pressure and expectations, and ultimately just finding joy in that pursuit of excellence.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's a story that resonates beyond hockey. It's a reminder that success is rarely a straight line. It's got twists and turns. But with hard work, dedication, and a bit of luck, you can really achieve anything.
Okay, so we've looked at his journey, his playing style, the challenges and rewards of playing in Montreal. But there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to talk about.
The team.
At the team.
We can't forget about that. We need to see how Heineman fits into the Canadian system, the team dynamics, all of it. Let's dive into that in our final segment.
Okay, so we're back, ready to wrap up this deep dive into Emil Heineman's journey. Last thing we got to talk about is the Montreal Canadiens themselves. Where does Heineman fit into this team? What are the dynamics at play?
Well, the Canadiens are kind of, in a transition phase. They're a young team, tons of potential, but still trying to find their identity a bit. And I think for a player like Heineman, who's still establishing himself, It's a challenge, but it's also a huge opportunity.
He talks about earning the trust of his teammates and coaches, proving that he's a reliable guy, that he can be counted on every night.
That's so important in hockey, maybe more so than other sports. You need to know the guy next to you has your back. They'll make the right play. Battle for every inch of the ice.
He mentions that he's learning a lot from the veteran players, guys who've been through it all, the ups and downs of an NHL season. Do you think that kind of mentorship is valuable for a young player's development?
Absolutely. It's like having a guide, someone who can show you the ropes, give you advice, help you handle all the challenges of playing at this level. And I mean, in a crazy hockey city like Montreal, that guidance is like gold.
Yeah. He specifically mentions Brendan Gallagher, says he really admires his work ethic and intensity.
Gallagher, oh, he's a heart and soul player. Gives it 110% every shift. He's exactly the type of player young guys look up to, that leader who really sets the tone.
Heineman also talks about chemistry, both on and off the ice. He says the team has a great group of guys and that they're really starting to, gel as a unit.
That's what you want to hear. When a team clicks like that, good chemistry, it's like a well-oiled machine. Everyone knows their role, they trust each other, and they're willing to sacrifice.
He mentions that recent win against Buffalo, the one where they scored 7 goals.
Oh, yeah.
He said they were clicking on all cylinders.
Those are the games that build confidence,
Yeah.
that build momentum. When a team starts believing in themselves like that, anything is possible.
So where do you see Heineman fitting into, the Canadiens' long-term plan?
Honestly, I think he's got the potential to be a key piece for them.
Okay.
He's got the size, the speed, those skills, that work ethic. He could be a top 6 forward in this league.
And let's not forget the mental toughness.
You got it. He can handle the pressure cooker of Montreal. He's not afraid of a challenge. And honestly, that's valuable for any team, especially one that's looking to build for the future.
Heineman's journey is a testament to just sticking with it, perseverance, adaptability, finding the right fit. His story connects with anyone who's ever gone after a dream, faced some setbacks, or just, wanted to be a part of something bigger.
His future's bright, that's for sure. I'm excited to see what he does, how he grows as a player and a person.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this. What do you think makes a young player successful? Is it pure talent, determination, a good mentor, something else entirely? What do you think?
It's a tough question, honestly. No easy answer. But one thing's for sure, the journey matters just as much as the destination.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Emil Heineman's journey to the NHL. We'll catch you next time.